will continue in Pretoria this morning. Yesterday, Executive Head for Impact Investment, Raj-dhar, said the PIC undertook a number of legal procedures before investing in a company. He said an external service provider was appointed through a rigorous procurement process to conduct a due diligence test before a transaction or investment was approved. Now, for more on this and what we can expect from the Commission, we joined live by On Point anchor Nompu Siziba at the Commission in the capital. Hey, Nompu, thank you very much indeed for your time. Let's just recap on some of the salient points that came out of yesterday.
Thanks very much, Blaine. Yes, well, as you say, Raj-dhar, he's the executive head of Impact Investment. He was basically just going through the processes that the PIC or his particular department have to go through in order, before they decide to invest in something. They were talking around risk management, due diligence, and a whole number of procedures and processes that they need to undergo before they come to a decision around investment. He was talking about the fact that people can actually walk into the PIC by viewing the details on the website as to how you engage with the PIC and come up with their ideas and say, look, I would like you to invest in this idea. And once somebody does that, they go through their various processes and either decide to approve investing in that project or not. Those kinds of things. He was asked things around whether there were limits as to how much the PIC would invest in a given project or a given scheme, and he was saying yes, indeed there were, but I think he was saying that it was on a case-by-case basis. They would be looking at the individual project that would come before them, and he was asked, as was another colleague of his, as to whether in his experience having worked at the PIC as the executive head of Impact Investment, whether he had seen any wrongdoing or any contraventions of the various rules and legislation that govern the PIC, and according to him, he hadn't. So that was quite interesting. And then also before him, there was Wilna Lowe. She is the acting company secretary at PIC. She just gave a background on the legislative framework, the various legislation that actually governs the PIC. So there's the Public Investment Corporation Act of 2004 and the Companies Act and a barrage of other legislation, and including the PFMA, the Public Finance Management Act, that they also have to abide by. And she was talking about the process that's undergone for a board to be appointed. She was talking about the fact that in fact the Deputy Finance Minister, who is usually the chairperson of the PIC, is not legislated to be so, but it's a traditional thing because the PIC manages the government employee pension funds, which account for about 88% of the funds that they manage in total. So these are some of the issues that were coming up. And then there was one last person who spoke, one Sholta Dolamo. He's the executive head of research and project development, and what his department basically does is it looks at, it basically researches on behalf of the PIC in order to come up with good investment ideas, looking at various sectors, mining, possible beneficiation possibilities, coming up with new ideas so that there can be new investable ideas that the PIC could be looking at. So really yesterday was a background as to what all these various divisions do, and it's likely that we're going to get more of the same today as the executive heads of both listed investments and human resources are going to be speaking. It's highly likely that they'll be giving a background as to what they do. And of course, I suppose the reason for this is the Commission would want to have a foundation on which to be able to make its observations around if anything indeed went wrong. But so far, the people that have given testimony have suggested that they didn't see any impropriety. Blaine?
What about fund limits for businesses they invest in, Nompu? Did Raj-dhar outline any of these?
Yeah, look, he talked about them, but he was saying that really it was on a case basis. He looked at it. He talked about a figure of 10 billion, but I think he was just using that as an example. They do have limitations, and they look at it on a case-by-case basis. The panel or the commission was very interested in this particular issue because one of the things that they wanted to know was whether people can apply for an investment and then come again and apply for more funds. And it seemed as though Jill Marcus was pressing on this particular issue. She's one of the commissioners. And she had some misgivings about the fact that indeed the PIC has a process whereby the very same applicant can come and apply for more funds for the same project, which she thought was a bit weird, given the fact that when you make your business case and you lay down your business plan, there should be some sort of vision as to how much funding that project would need over a given period of time. So yeah, on a case-by-case basis. Blaine?
Nompu, what's at stake here? Give us the magnitude of such an inquiry. Nompu, are you still with us? Okay, it seems that we've lost...
I'm still with you, very much.
Yes.
Very much so.
Sorry, Nompu, we just broke up there, but I was just asking you, give us the magnitude of such an inquiry. What's at stake here?
Okay. It's an important inquiry. The PIC manages 2 trillion rand worth of funds. As I mentioned, mostly of government employees. It's a critical stakeholder in the economy. The PIC is also mandated not only to invest these funds, but it also plays a significant role in terms of investing in developmental projects as well, which helps obviously the South African economy. It also plays a big role on the African continent as well. So it's important that it invests in decent projects whereby it's going to get a decent return, particularly for those government employee fund holders. And also, the government employee pension fund. It's called its benefit is called a defined benefit. So in other words, if you're a government employee and you're paying into a pension, you've been told by the government employee pension fund that you're guaranteed to get X amount at the time that you retire. So because of those guarantees, it's very important that the PIC is investing those funds properly so that at the end of the day, people do get their defined benefits. And of course, when something goes wrong, as did Steinhoff the year before last, Steinhoff lost about 95% of its value. And it wasn't only the PIC that was invested in it, but lots of other, key asset managers who we have a lot of respect for in the market, but they got it wrong and they didn't anticipate that Steinhoff was going to fall massively. Now, as a result of that, there were losses. So who has to pay for it? It's the taxpayer, you and I, Blaine, and the viewers at home who have to pay for any mistakes that are made in terms of their investments. So this is quite important. They handle a lot of money and a lot of people depend on them making the right investments, making the right decisions.
So indeed an important inquiry, no doubt. From my schedule, it was expected to start at 9 o'clock today. Is there some sort of a delay?
Yeah, so basically yesterday it was decided at the end of the proceedings that it would be better to start at 10. There are logistical issues with trying to get to Pretoria. I mean, as we were heading to Pretoria, there were a couple of accidents that we saw. We saw an overturned truck on the M1. So, things do happen on the road and so on. And given the fact that the executive head of research gave some testimony yesterday when he was actually scheduled to begin today, it then gave the Commission a little bit of latitude for us to start later so that at least people can make it on time. That's the reason. Blaine?
Nompu Siziba, on point anchor. Thank you very much indeed, my friend. We'll try to catch up with you a little later on. Des?